Hi. Hello. What's up? What's good? What is going on? This is your boy Kyle. HiK-Upp if you know me from the 40 Ounce Fridays podcast. And Detective K from the few people who do check out the Yu Hakusho videos. These are going on both for the podcast and the Ramen Chop Detective Agency YouTube page for people who are fans of the 40 Ounce Fridays podcast. A few of you that are, I appreciate you. Notice that, hey, the name's different now. What's going on? This is a decision I made as I was thinking things over, and for fans of the Ramen Shop Detective Agency just looking for another Yu Hakusho video, we will be getting those. We'll be doing other stuff. This is more of like something I wanted to upload to just say I am still here. I still want to make content and I still want to do stuff, but the way I was doing it before for both the podcast and for the YouTube channel and for other stuff I'm doing was just not sustainable. If the way my life is set up currently, it's not like my life is like I'm such in a bad place, but it's more so that I keep stacking too many things on my plate and I need to figure out a balance. And I don't want to like stop doing stuff like this entirely. I like thought like, well, maybe I should just stop for now. And it was like, I still kind of want to do stuff. So that's the point of this whole upload. That's what this one's going to be. It's going to be short. I don't know particularly how long it's going to be. I know I always say that for both the YouTubes and the podcast, and then it ends up being like an hour long. But it's not going to be anything like that. In fact, I think going forward, it's consistently not going to be like that now, because I did work out a plan. So I just kind of felt like not a sense of burnout, but a sense of like, man, I'm doing a lot and I'm not getting a lot of free time to like do stuff I want to do, like sit down and actually just listen to some music and enjoy some music, sit down and watch a show or a movie I want to watch, play a game because I have to write, I have to go to work, I want to spend time with my wife. Not that, oh, I need to. It's just like I like my wife. I want to hang out with my wife, friends and all this shit. Then I'm like, oh, but I got to do this. Oh, but I got to record this. Oh, but I got to write the script for this. Oh, and now I got to edit this. And it's just not sustainable, especially considering the fact that this is like a side hobby. At this point, it's not anything I'm making any sort of money off of. It's something I like doing, but it's something I can't dedicate that much time to be like, yeah, I'll do a podcast. Yeah, I'll make YouTube videos. Yeah, I'll do this. Yeah, I'll do that. And I got to come to terms with the fact that it's not going to be that way unless something does shift in the near future. And so I'm working towards that. I got a lot of stuff going on, but to get things out of the way, this is still technically the 40 Ounce Fridays podcast. This is still technically the Ramen Shop Detective Agency for the YouTube channel videos. I'm just kind of mashing up and merging these into one thing. So the way I'm going to go about it is the Ramen Shop Detective Agency will still primarily focus on like a lot of anime stuff, just like how the podcast mainly focuses on a lot of anime stuff. But I think I'm going to expand on more than just Yu Yu Hakusho content. I'm a fan of a lot of other series. I've talked about it before. The very first video I uploaded to the YouTube channel, and I talk about it all the time on the podcast. And I think reforming the podcast into something with like a name that kind of rolls off, I don't want to say rolls off, but it's kind of more like anime related, being the Ramen Shop Detective Agency, just due to where I got the name from the idea from Yu Yu Hakusho, and talking about nerd topics. It kind of fits better than the 40 Ounce Fridays podcast. I feel like it'll be a lot easier to get some pull, and it keeps things streamlined. That way, the YouTube channel and the podcast essentially have become one entity, but that's only because they were so similar to begin with that I made this decision. Because for a while I was thinking, oh, well, I'm probably going to have to do one or the other, and I didn't want to give up one, but I couldn't do both. Like it's kind of a lot going on because I have other stuff I want to do. So this is the conclusion I've come to. So for podcast listeners, the only change really being done, well, there's going to be a few things, but like the only big change being done is that the podcast is no longer called 40 Ounce Fridays. The podcast is now called the Ramen Shop Detective Agency. So if that's a jarring name change, I apologize. This is the idea I came up with. For the YouTube people, this is a bit of a bigger change because the YouTube channel was originally just dedicated to Yu Yu Hakusho content, and I think I said in the future, after I get past all the ideas I wanted to do, we could branch off into other anime. It's not that I'm bored with Yu Yu Hakusho. I could never be. I fucking love Yu Yu. But I thought, why not just talk about other topics and have other Yu Yu Hakusho stuff, of course, sprinkled in the middle. So instead of just doing the Ghost File Declassified stuff, which is what we were doing, like arc by arc, piece by piece, I want to do other stuff, like just discussing characters and like the idea of morality in characters, or the idea of like this character's background and going back and forth, the idea I have with these two characters, the comparisons, the contrasts, stuff that other like any YouTubers you would see do, but I want to do that for me, and not just for Yu Yu Hakusho, for other stuff like Jujutsu Kaisen, for stuff like Trigun, Durarara. I fucking love Durarara, JoJo's Bizarre Adventures, Dragon Quest Dai, Full Metal Alchemist, like stuff like that. And of course, we can also go into video games, we can go into music, we can go into movies, just kind of like that general page. But Yu Yu Hakusho will always be at the heart of it. Don't get it twisted. We will be touching into a lot of Yu Yu Hakusho stuff. So that's the big change for the YouTube channel. Now, smaller changes for the podcast kind of go hand in hand with like the bigger changes for the YouTube channel. So first and foremost, these uploads are going to end up being a lot shorter. Probably like 30-40 minutes. If something's really special in particular that I want to talk about that day, we could probably move into an hour, but I think 30 minutes to an hour is probably the gauge for uploads we're going to have from now on. Now, for the Yu Yu Hakusho videos for the Ramen Shop Detective Agency YouTube channel, that's kind of typical for my uploads, but instead of like just purely talking about a Yu Yu Hakusho arc and kind of rambling on and on, I want to get into specific topics. And for the podcast, instead of just talking about multiple things in one episode and kind of trying to cram them all in and wasting time and rushing things, I want to take a singular topic or a singular thing, maybe like one or two shows if they're really closely related, or one or two games, or solid topics for a general episode, and just talk about that thing. Like I kind of did with the early days of the podcast. And I think I want to go back to doing that. I had fun doing that, and I had a good time sharing my thoughts. And that, at the end of the day, that's what it all boils down to, is just sharing my thoughts. That's all I really wanted to do with this. And I kind of like shifted up over the years and over time, which is of course a natural thing. You want to try new things, but I think coming down to it, I want to just continue to do that. Now, if we go somewhere with that, awesome. I would love to expand on this and do more and like make this more of a personal job or project. But if not, then just still expect me to upload and talk about shit. That's all it is. That's all I came here to do. I'm a very introverted person by nature, so I don't quite often talk with others about certain things I want to talk about. I do have my roommates, which is cool. So I can always have a discussion with them when we have the time, but I don't like prying into their lives all the time just to talk about some nerd shit. They have their own lives and they have their own things to do. And my wife, while she can be into certain anime, like I got her in the JoJo's, and she's a big Sailor Moon fan, and she loves other certain things that I've watched, but she's not like a super big she's not like to the level like I am. If you've listen to the podcast or watch the YouTube videos, and she's not super big on gaming. Certain movies, yeah, we can talk movies, but like I said, she's not she's not a nerd like I am. She's not a super nerd. She's a nerd with other topics and other things that I don't really get into. So there's that disconnect. So this was a way to just, oh cool, let me shoot the shit. Because there's Facebook groups, there's forums, there's posts, but people love to argue, and I do love like a little disagreement here and there, like a healthy disagreement, like a healthy back and forth where you could learn something from another person talking, or just get a different perspective on like an opinion you have about a show or a game or some music or something like that. People just kind of argue a lot more often, than not. It's something that I have been into a lot less lately, considering the fact that I'm fucking 30 years old now. I just had a birthday. I'm recording this on 17th, should go up on the 19th. Had my birthday on the 15th. So that's another reason I'm just like, dude, I'm 30 years old. I got life shit to handle. I can't dedicate hours and hours and hours of time to something that's not like going to be profitable. And the idea of this in general was never to be profitable. It was just to do something fun, side hobby, pass the time. So I'm like, fuck it, go back and make it a side hobby and pass the time. And so that's what this is for. So still bi-weekly episodes. A lot of the stuff I do in my personal life I tend to make bi-weekly just to give myself more time and breathing room to do. Gives me more time to get shit done, and it gives you more days within those 2 weeks to be like, I'm gonna take a break today and not do something and relax and spend time just turning my brain off and playing a game, or turning my brain off and watching a show, or spending time with my friends, families, my wife. And it just makes things a lot more streamlined and a lot easier. So that's the overall goal of this. So if this sounded like big rambles, sorry about that, but to make the short version of it, the podcast and the YouTube channel are now one thing. So for the podcast people who didn't know about the YouTube channel, welcome. You now know about the YouTube channel. And for the YouTube channel people who didn't know about the podcast, also welcome. Now you know about the podcast. So every upload I do of stuff like this is going to be an audio version on the podcast, same podcast thing as you can see with this upload, and a video version for the YouTube, but it's not really going to be a video. I'm probably just going to have like thumbnail image be for the whole thing. It's going to be a podcast format, just kind of like a video form. I don't have like recording equipment to record my face. I'm not properly set up for all that stuff yet. Maybe down the line, if I feel like, oh cool, that'd be cool to do. But until then, it's just going to be like this. And topics, not going to be that much different for my podcast folks. Anime, music, games, manga, films, whether they be animated or live action shows, like all that good shit, all that fun stuff. And for the YouTube people, just expect more topics being talked about besides the Yu Yu Hakusho, but still expect Yu Yu Hakusho stuff. I actually have a couple things I want to talk about related to Yu Yu Hakusho that I'll probably get into the next upload after this. Because we got to talk about the live action. That happened like a month ago, right? It came out late December 14th. So yeah, a little over a month ago. We got the live action Yu Yu Hakusho. I have my thoughts. I watched the whole thing with one of my roommates. If you want a quick little thing for me to say, I personally like it. I don't think it's very good. like if I'm being objective, the show is very mid to like bad. It's like teetering on that kind of thing. But I think for me personally, the reason why like just like on a personal level I enjoy it so much is it's because of that badness, and it just feels so genuine. If that makes sense, you know what I mean? Like it feels like they really had fun doing it, and it has like this 90s cornball cheese aesthetic to it, and this whole vibe to it that just screams 90s cheese action movie. In the best way possible. It's kind of bad, but in the best way possible, it's kind of bad. And that's the general opinion I have of it. I love how the way it's filmed kind of feels like a 90s show. The costume design kind of looks like a 90s show, and I don't mean that just because, you know, the outfits they're rocking from Yu Yu Hakusho, but it just, like the overall material of the design and the look of them in the live action, it just screams like this is 90s cheese, and I kind of dig it. It's like it is so bad it's good. That's what I'll give it, but I'll probably have more in detail stuff to talk about once we do talk about it. I'll probably give it another rewatch just to refresh myself. But I think they did an okay job. I consider it a wacky alternate universe take of Yu Yu Hakusho. Like, this is like, in another universe, this is how the story went. And I'll leave it at that. I know a lot of hardcore fans fucking hated this show. That's totally fair. There's so many changes. Oh my goodness. It is so different. Once you get past like episode 1, episode 2 even kind of sticks to it still pretty well with some minor changes. But you get to episode 3, oh, very different show. it turns into something else. But I think at its core, it still feels like Yu Yu Hakusho. So I do want to talk about that. And then there's another video idea I had, or another topic I had to talk about on this podcast involving Yusuke and Kuwabara as characters. I have some stuff I want to talk about, like the various friendships within the main team, like how Yusuke interacts and is friendly with Kuwabara, how he is with Kurama, how he is with Hiei, how Kuwabara is around Kurama and Hiei, how Kurama and Hiei have this like just the personal one-on-one relationships between the main four. I want to do a topic about that, just to talk about them. But there's like this cool contrast I love, and I always think about when it comes to Yu Yu Hakusho, especially with Kuwabara and Yusuke, and this idea of how they are best friends when exactly that happened for them. This bond they share, the willingness to give so much to each other to keep the other one alive, because they have like such a deep friendship and such a strong bond, and also a strong sense of respect for one another. So I want to do a topic on that. I don't know if it'll necessarily be next time. Like, maybe if we have time, we could do we'll talk about the live action and then we can talk about that. If not, then it'll be next time live action, then next time that. But already out the gate, I got 2 Yu Yu Hakusho things I want to talk about. But other than that, yeah, that's pretty much it for the updates for what's going to be going on. So the Ramen Shop Detective Agency is pretty much a podcast, nerd-based podcast system now. So 40 Ounce Fridays podcast watchers, it's kind of the same thing, just with a different name in like a more tight format. Especially since I'm by myself for podcast listeners. I know Ryan already hasn't been here, and I talked about it. Again, it was nothing personal. Ryan has his own life. Just like how I just ended up taking a break for like a few months. Ryan needs to break. He has a life outside of this, and he's doing things. Nothing bad's going on. In fact, he's doing pretty well. Like, I still hang out with him. I still talk to him. His birthday's earlier in January than me, so I just went to his 30th birthday party a few weeks ago. He's got some personal things going on that are super exciting. So I'm happy for it. I'm happy for his life. He's just doing his own thing. He doesn't have time to do this. Totally understand. Again, we're 30 years old. We have important life shit we got to take care of, priorities. And we already had our own personal hobbies away from this podcast. So I didn't want to give it up. So my life has become a lot easier because I made this decision. So I'm glad I did. But yeah, so every other week, every other Friday still, expect podcasts to go up. So I think what I'll do, I'll try to get the podcast up on Friday. That should still happen bi-weekly. So this one should be going up on the 19th. I'll just have to edit it tomorrow. It's not going to be that long because I'm about to wrap up in a second anyway, so it shouldn't be that hard to edit. Same with the video version. I'll try to get the video up on Friday. If not, I'll try to get it up by the end of the week. Before that, I'll try to get it up by like the Saturday or the Sunday after, directly. But I want to try to get them both up on the same day. I just have to be ready to do that. The getting the video ready shouldn't be that long either, because I'm only just going to do a single thumbnail. We're just going to get right into it. But we'll see how it goes. So expect that. And if it's late for the YouTube people, sorry that it didn't come out exactly on Friday, but ideally it should. But yeah, that's it. That's the big update on life and where we're going with this. So I hope you stick with me, and I hope you enjoy as we just spend every other Friday talking about some nerd shit. I think that's fun. And then especially with the YouTube, if you guys want to leave comments, just if you have something you want me to talk about or think I'd be interested in talking about, please do bring it up. If you have an opinion on anything I said, please do bring it up. Be respectful. I do get a few comments in the YouTubes every now and then, so I do appreciate that. Podcast, more than welcome to do that, guys. I believe Spotify lets me get comments or something like that, so leave comments. Let me know how you feel about it, and that's the deal. So, anywho, before I wrap up, I'm gonna keep this under 30 minutes, I think, but I want to talk about some personal things I'm working on. Besides, the 9 to 5, I am looking for another job outside of food, of course, and I'm putting that into overdrive. I'm actually looking into some other stuff, like even what's it called? Why am I brain farting on this? See, I'm already old. I've been 30 for like 3 days. I'm already forgetting the name of stuff. Trade school. There we go. Something like that. Get a trade. Because, I mean, worst comes to worst. Best case scenario, I get the trade. I get a nice job in whatever said trade or field. And cool. Worst case scenario, I don't quite get a job in that field. At least I know how to do the thing I'm certified for, which is always going to come in handy when you're a man in the house that needs to fix or build something. Definitely 100%. It makes it better than having to call someone and pay them to do it for you. But besides that, I've been writing. I always talk about writing on the podcast. I love writing stories, poetry, lyrics, stuff like that. The story I've been working on for years now, Another Random Tale, I have like official, fully fledged like script chapters for. The idea eventually, when I can find an illustrator that's, we have good chemistry, they're willing to work on it, and we can work out some kind of pay, because I don't want them to do this shit for free, regardless of how much money this project would make. I want them to be paid for their work. I gotta figure that out too. But once I can get that together, love to have this as like some illustrated form, some kind of manga graphic novel type thing. But until then, it's just me with a pen and some paper, or my computer and some Google documents. The chapters are officially going to be coming out every other week, so expect those. And I've already on my birthday on January 15th, I released chapter 1. Leading up to chapter 1, I have the chapter 0 kind of prologue that goes hand in hand. I kind of think of it as like if chapter 0 and chapter 1 were one chapter, it'd be like, when a manga first comes out and they get that really, 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 really long, like 50-page debut chapter to set the story up before they have the normal like 20-ish something pages chapter formats. That's what chapter 0+1 is. So they go hand in hand. So I'm gonna link the Google Docs in the description of the podcast and the description of the YouTube video. So if you want to check those out, you can click those links and check those out and read them and let me know how you feel about them. I would love feedback, and I'm gonna be doing it kind of like a manga format again, bi-weekly. Every other week we'll have a chapter. I'm actually way ahead on where the story is now than just the general chapter 1. So I'm on I just finished actually writing chapter 50, which is crazy to me that even though this isn't like something that's published or being read by like millions of people across the world, I have a couple of friends, personal friends, reading it. The fact that I've written 50 chapters is insane to me. It's like, holy shit, I did that. Like, wow, I've gone so far in this story. It's crazy to think, especially with all the times I've been like, oh, I want to restart this because I want to change something. But this is it. This is the draft. I'm like, I've never been this far in writing the story as I am today. So I feel really good about it. I feel really positive about it. I feel really happy about it. And it's something that means a lot to me. So I would love for you guys to check it out. The story is called Another Random Tale. It takes place in a fictional world on the planet known as Terra. And in this world, a young boy, 16 years old, by the name of Casey KJ Smith, he lives in a small town and he works as a blacksmith apprentice under his father. But at this point in age, he gets that kind of angst or that longing for more meaning in his life. He wants to search for something. And a lot of us, we kind of have an idea of like what we want to do in the future, like some kind of goal, especially once we hit around the age of 16. KJ doesn't really have that yet. He has the longing and the itch for a goal, for a deeper meaning in his life. but he doesn't quite know what that is yet. So eventually he is able to leave home and go search for that meaning. And that's the whole initial start of the story. And things unfold from there. It is very shonen anime-inspired. I love, shonen anime. We talk about how I'm a shonen boy, but it has elements from other genres like seinen and like comedy, fantasies, shit like that. All of that stuff rolled into one. Just a love letter to storytelling in general, but especially from manga and anime storytelling, just because those are one of the major influences that helped me as I grew up writing. I was more into anime and manga than I was into comics, but doesn't discount comics. I love a lot of comics as well. There's a lot of inspiration from that. Just anything I've read or watched that I thoroughly enjoyed, from whether it be an aesthetic point in a story, an action point in a story, the actual storytelling, the character development, the world building, the lore, all that stuff has inspired me to make something like this. This is my baby that I want to bring to the world. So I'll link I'll have the Google Doc links in the description of both the podcast and the YouTube videos for Another Random Tale for Chapter 0 and Chapter 1. I also have Google Doc links that I'll put in for the world map, the timeline, and terms and definitions. So if you want to know the timeline leading up to the history of that world, leading up to right when KJ starts his journey, you can look that up. It's nothing that's needed specifically for any major story stuff that's going to be going down in the near future, but it's kind of like this idea of this is common knowledge to people in this world. So if you want it to be common knowledge to you, please take a read. It's fun. World map will just get you acquainted with all the nations and countries and places in the world of Another Random Tale, and the terms and definitions will let you in on some of these terms that might not make any sense to you. I do have descriptions of them in the chapters when some of them are first said and revealed, but if you want some more detailed explanations, I have that list for you. So I'll link all that stuff in the Google Doc links in the descriptions of this stuff. Please check them out. I would love the feedback, and I would love support. Definitely 100%. I want to make this something. This is something I definitely want to be successful in the future. So I would love feedback. I'd love input. I love your opinions and thoughts. And I love for people to just enjoy something I've created, to be like, oh, cool. I can't wait to read this, And like I said, I'll upload new chapters every week. It's essentially taking chapters I've already written and just making sure spelling and grammar is as good as it can be from what I can catch in my eye, editing little mistakes, kind of cleaning up certain dialogue points if I think they need to be cleaned up a little bit, and term fixing, because some terms have changed in sense of oh, this is actually named this now, so let me make sure it's named that in the text. Certain things like that. So please check it out. Other than that, that's it. I am working on music stuff lightly, so maybe something this year. I'm not going to promise anything, but maybe something this year. We'll see. But other than that, that's it. I don't want to keep going. I'm going to start rambling, and I want to keep this under 30 minutes. But I am back. Expect new stuff for the podcast every other Friday, just talking about general nerd shit. Podcast version will go up every other Friday. YouTube version will go up every other Friday. And expect new chapters of Another Random Tale, new script chapters of Another Random Tale every other Friday. I'll link them in the description as well if you want more information. As always, guys, thank you for all the love and support, and we'll see where 2024 goes for us. And that's it. Woo! Okay. I sound super awkward and rusty because I am super awkward and rusty. But thank you guys, and I will catch you in the next episode. Bye.
Okay, now someone told me when it's coming, that I could be your plushie, cuddle love with you or something. A weighted blanket, sipping chocolate, neck and golden bumping. A crunchy roll, get cozy, my little story, what we watching. Don't worry, I know that you ain't one to start the combo. I see the way you look at me, the fireworks been starting. Ruby red cheeks, roasted marshmallows, how our fingers locked in. Watashi ni wa koku